Here and APLs are not very good.
Venkat, I can hear you, Venkat, but there is some noise from your side, Venkat. Some.
Okay, we can stop recording and then start recording when we need, right? When the session starts.
I don't want to miss anything, Venkat. That's why probably you can edit it later.
So shall we start? It's like 6:05. I guess somebody has to make Selvi as host or co-host.
Try sharing screen.
Shall we start now?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm ready. So is everyone okay? Are we good to start?
Yeah. Before we start, I will inform everybody that we are recording this session, Selvi. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Okay, Selvi, start.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. So today's topic is a very basic topic, but very important and interesting topic in the Code Agile. So let's start with what are user stories. Then we will go towards DOR and DOD, and at the end there will be a surprise question. Generally, what we will be getting as part of the interview questions generally. So we'll try to touch upon those things as well. So few guidelines. Whenever you have questions, please use the chat window and put your questions. And this is a time box meeting. We have 1 hour scheduled the meeting for the discussion for. And if you feel there are more questions coming up, we will definitely using our WhatsApp group, we will try to discuss more on that. Okay, so first let's try to understand what is user story, right? So user stories are nothing but lightweight mechanism to quickly capture requirements. So we have something called as requirements. So this user story is something that will come to the execution level of the team. What is meant by execution level of the team means? Are we using features in our sprint execution? No. Are we using epics in our sprint execution? No. What we are using in our sprint execution, what we are estimating, that is nothing but user story. So it is a very lightweight part that actually got derived from the actual requirement, and it will be used as part of the sprint execution. That's the first thing we need to understand. What team is actually really dealing with this user stories. Of course, features, epics, all things get into picture as an overall hierarchy. But user stories are given more weightage because of this reason, because day to day we see user stories and we use that as the mechanism to capture all the requirements. Okay, so how these user stories are helping every core person of the team? Like, for example, let's take first the developers. What developers used to do, they want to develop a functionality, they want to implement a functionality. So this will be the base, this will be the core. So for example, I need to start developing, or I need to paint something. I need to have some kind of clarity what I need to paint, what I need to do. That kind of clarity will be given by this user story to the developers. So the user stories will give them a signal, hey, this is your start point, and this is how you need to start, and these are the things we are expecting as part of the sprint execution, as part of the user story delivery. And when you are done with this, you are done with your actual user story development, right? So that's first thing, user story give advantage to the developer, or user stories are actually aligned with the developers for their start and stop activity of the development. Now coming to testers. Okay, so I know that this is the functionality I'm expecting. how I'm going to write the test scenarios, test cases on based on what? Like, yeah, I know there should be a page for login. So there should be certain conditions that should be available, right? Like what are the allowed characters in the password? How many characters are allowed for the username? Whether there is a cancel button, whether there is a forgot password link, there is or a reset password, whether it's a submit or login, what sort of button. These all things I need a clarity before I write the use case. Even though we generally say it's a login functionality, the tester should have the clarity. What are the things that are available in the user story? Then only they can start writing the test cases and test scenarios. We will talk about what are acceptance tests when we talk about the acceptance criteria. Okay. So now for PO. Okay. PO is the person who actually writes the user story, not necessarily, but right now we will take that as a condition. PO is the person who is writing the user story. So I have certain expectation when I was writing that user story. Okay, like I want to see a login page with this kind of functionality at the end of this story closure. So for me to accept whether my required functionality at the beginning when I had during my first calls of initiating the user story, that moment whatever I had as a requirement, whether it got satisfied or not, whether I can accept the user story or not. For that, for PO user stories will be helpful. So user stories are nothing but it is a very smaller or miniature version of the requirement, which are used by the every person of the team on day-to-day basis during the sprint execution to deliver the functionalities. Okay, so these all are the three categories in the user stories part. Now, so what are the things that are required in a user story? Can I write anything and can I have any number of expectations in a user story? What are we looking from that user story? First thing is, if you feel there is no goal, then that is not at all a user story. I'll talk about this and I will say like generally what are the mistakes we tend to do and how we can avoid that as well. Okay. First thing is goal. Okay. There should be a specific goal for your user story. Okay. So if there are multiple goals, what I can do, that's the last point, split your user stories to ensure it has only one goal. Why so? The reason is when you have multiple goals, you may not be able to concentrate on those two goals, first thing. And when you don't have any goal, then you don't know what you are developing itself or what you are going to deliver itself. What is the outcome that you are going to give? You have no idea. And every user story should be in the position to potentially shippable. That means if actually it is something like someone is asking me a coffee, okay, if I'm giving a coffee, then they can easily, it's an edible thing, right? They can easily consume it, they can have it. But whenever they are asking me coffee, I'm giving coffee powder, milk, hot water. Yeah, all the things are available, but they need to do some process, right? It is similar to that. Potentially shippable means you need to ensure when your story is getting accepted by your PO, there is no further activity or task required to put it in the actual production environment, which means this piece of work that got completed from your team is actually can be deployed in the production environment directly, which means there is no further thing like, oh, no, I have not ensured that I have hard-coded certain things. It may not work in my production environment. No, this users, it may not support. No, that should not be the case. It should have that logical outcome of the functionality. When you are completing this user story, it's good to say that, hey, this piece of code you can deploy anytime in the production because it will work. That's how it should be. So now, what are the common things in general that we tend to miss, okay, or we tend to do it in a different way? First thing is, there will be multiple goals in one user story. You need to create user, you need to give permission to the user, and that permission can be only given by the admin user. Then you can delete the user, and the delete option should be available only for the admin user. And when you are creating the user, you are checking all these criteria. So many things. So what are we trying to do here? total user authorization and authentication purpose, user creation itself, we are clubbing a single one entity as a work item, which I feel it can be still break down into smaller stories. How can we do that? As an admin person, I need to create users. Yes, your user creation is done. As a so-and-so person, I can edit or modify the users who are available. Yeah, you can do that. And then the third one, as an admin user, I can delete the available set of users who are available. So now we are knowing, okay, the first story is all about creation. I am not going to worry about whether I can edit it or delete it. All those things are not in my criteria. The second story is all about editing and modifying. So it's all about, I'm not worrying about whether it's going to be getting created or not, because the functionality is already available. I am going to go through the list by maybe search criteria or whatever the functionality we are in. I will directly edit it. Third functionality is all about, which means the user story is all about deletion, where I'm not going to edit or modify or create. So we have certain purpose or certain functionality which is closely tied with each and every user story. So in this case, we have complete clarity what we are doing as a goal. Okay. Now, coming to the second thing, before going to the second thing, let me talk about one more interesting stuff, what we generally try to do. Hey, like this sprint, we will do only UI work. Okay, there should be a user story only for UI. We will not talk anything about backend. Next sprint, we will talk about backend. So one story will be dedicated for UI, and the team will be working on that. They'll complete the UI. Now, is it actually potentially shippable item? No. But let me tell you one scenario. I have a page where I can create a product, means submit a product to the catalog. Okay. I'm entering product ID, product name, description about the product, maybe some of the mandatory fields I'm filling, clicking on submit. Wow, page looks very nice and no operation, nothing, because the data won't even go through any request. Okay, and therefore no response. Is this a good thing? What I will do with this? No, it doesn't give any logical outcome. So it cannot be considered as a user story. If in case you feel like, no, all the fields I cannot ensure, don't go for all the fields. Try to break it. What are the mandatory fields? What are the primary keys that you have set in your table? Just try to create that as a story. With these many fields, if I'm entering with this many items, like for example, product ID, product name, and product description, that's all. Submit, it should go. There should be a backend service, data service should be available. API is already written, and it's the request is being passed, and we are getting the response, getting a dialog of saying submitted successfully, your product ID created is so and so. This is complete flow. Now, even if I ship this to my production, what will happen? Yes, even though I may not have extra fields like upload your product picture, or maybe the product contact person name, address, some mobile number, something. Those things are not there. It's okay that you can create next story in the upcoming sprint saying that additional updated fields required creation for that particular product. But at least your core component is already available. This is the mistake we tend to do. No, I cannot take everything in the sprint. It's okay, but what is the logical thing that you can do now? And the rest you can take it as the next story. That's how we need to split the story, and not in the way of design one story, testing one story, UI one story, backend one story, development one story. No, that's not at all story. That they are tasks. They are not even stories. Okay, so this is potentially shippable. So we should understand there is a goal, and we should understand once I complete and I achieve that goal should be able to give me an option to make it available as part of the production environment, which should not create any kind of issue. Okay, so third point, as we discussed, splitting, we should know how to split the story, not based on design, basically not based on task, right? That's so simple to say. It should not be based on task. Instead, it should be based on the logical outcome what we are trying to give out of that story. Okay. Now, how the template of the story look like? So first thing, as a role, What is this role mean? The role can be a admin user, non-admin user, or depends on the application. That again changes with different users. Maybe admin space, module admin, some roles may be something like that. So we should specifically say this goal is for which users. It should not come in future saying like, no, now I have implemented for everyone. We will write one more story in future and make it who should use it. No, that's not the right thing. Again, we are going as task based. We are not going as per the benefit or as per the logical outcome. So we need to ensure for whom we are doing. So that's why in template, in the title, this is how the title of the story looks like, right? As a specific role, I want to do some action. What is the goal? So that I will expect some kind of benefit. So as an admin, I should be able to provide access permissions to users so that users can edit or update the catalog. So this is a very simple thing. This is how a template of the user story, which means template is nothing but the title of the user story should look like. Okay, if I'm not writing like this, what will happen? No, still any tool like Jira or Azure DevOps or TFS, it will accept. But when you see the title, you should be able to know, okay, this is for admin users, and this is for doing sharing the permission to users by the admin, so that now we will be at the end, we will be able to edit the catalog who all got the permission that is provided by the admin. So simple. The functionality itself is already mentioned in the title. So if you use this kind of template, it will be easy for anyone. You no need to give any kind of explanation for person who is joining or people who are replacing someone or someone at the management. They want to see that, okay, so just a quick glance, they are looking at like, okay, my team is working on which are the user stories. Oh, wow, they came to admin level privileges now. That's how it will give the impact, right? So it is a best practice to use the user story template format to ensure that we are getting the maximum benefit and ensuring people are able to understand well with the title itself. Okay, so now actually we will be going with the user story structure. So we talked about the title. So we are clear with the title, how we need to give. So the title itself had role, goal, benefit, as simple. You should always remember this. These three parts should be always available in your user story title. That gives lot of benefit for everyone who is reading that. Now coming to the structure, it's all about 3C. So what is 3C? Card, conversation, confirmation. Okay. So card is nothing but the same thing what we discussed so far. It's nothing but the title. So what and all will be there? Again, just for quick revision, it will be having role, then goal, then benefit. Okay, we know now fairly what this functionality is all about. Is that sufficient? No. During the refinement, what generally will happen, there will be a lot of questions coming up, there will be a lot of discussions coming up. Okay, let's try to put one scenario, what all those discussions will come up. Let's take a very simple example of login. I will be asking a question to my product owner. Hey, like product owner, can you tell me how many characters are allowed in the username? Is it allowed to enter a numeric character? Is it allowed with a special character? And for password, is there any password guideline? And when I use forget password, what will happen? Do I need to, first time when I sign up, do I need to give my email ID? So these are all the questions we will try to put. What is this called as? During your refinement, you are trying to build a conversation to understand more and more about the functionality and clarify the questions or the open gaps as a team that we have. So with this conversation at the end, what we will be getting, the complete clarity of what we are going to develop. So that will give you the whole list of things that you are going to develop. Or maybe in the interest, it will give you the clarity about the functionality, what we are going to work. So this will be added as part of the description, the whole conversation, what's happening. Then what is this acceptance criteria? Everything is clarified and discussions happen. So what is all about this acceptance? Is that required? Yes, of course it's required. The reason is this acceptance criteria plays a very major role in testing as well. I'll talk about testing, then I'll come to development because it will be easy to correlate. Why testers? What we said when at the beginning, user stories has a very important significance for each and every rule. For testers, what's the important thing for their test case scenario, test cases creation or test scenario creation to ensure whether the desired functionality is achieved or not in the user story. For all those things, they need the user story. Acceptance criteria is the one through which acceptance tests are written. Until and unless acceptance tests are not passed, that means your story is not giving the functionality that it is desired to give. So that's the correlation. So now, if this acceptance criteria is not there, I will just go ahead and write any number of scenarios for all the discussion points. No, then we won't get into clarity, because for PO also it is must and mandatory to check at the end. Okay, so these are the things I expected. 10 points I have written in acceptance criteria. All the 10 points are met or not. For a developer, okay, these are the things I need to develop. Okay, no cancel button is required. Fine. We all also concluded in the discussion during the refinement, no cancel button is required. Awesome. I will not add any cancel button. For this clarity is required in acceptance criteria. If it's not there, then everyone have their own way of implementing, way of accepting, way of testing. So it will be hard. So this acceptance criteria will give the complete clarity. And any questions that are revolving around the acceptance criteria also will be discussed in this discussion area during the conversation and added in the description part. Now, some more interesting part about acceptance criteria. We will talk about acceptance criteria at the end also. Mostly I'll put the question to you all. So what is acceptance criteria? We discussed. Now, what are the things this acceptance criteria should have? Only the functionality related part. What is a requirement all about? A requirement has functional and non-functional part. What is functional part? What is the actual core functionality that I am looking from that? For example, after login, I should be able to move to the home page or maybe the dashboard page or maybe the welcome page. The page, whatever it occurs first after the login, I should be getting navigated to that. That's the expected functionality. Fine, right? So that's done. No, it's not done. The reason is, whenever we tend to put the acceptance criteria, we should ensure, are we covering the non-functional part also? How can we do that? So in acceptance criteria, it's always a good practice to ensure your PO is writing certain things about NFR. If no points are related to NFR, there is, for this particular functionality implementation, PO cannot think of any non-functional requirements, and even team cannot think of any non-functional requirements, put NFR as NA. But why NFR is always there? It's a placeholder, just not to forget that there is some NFR placeholder that you need to mention. Testing. In certain scenarios, testing may not be required. Put testing as NA. So NFR we covered, testing we have covered. If in case I'm not covering NFR, what will happen? One fine day, we will think of, oh my God, login is taking 1.5 minutes to move to the home page, which is right? No, it's not right. Now we will write a separate story to cover that. So why can't we do that as part of functionality implementation? Whenever we try to implement a requirement, it is always a good practice not only to think about the functionality, always to think about the non-functional aspects as well. So whether 1.5 minutes it's taking, it's not right. Sorry, initially it should take 2 seconds. Then the particular thing will be covered as part of the testing also. And later as part of the performance test suite, that what we will prepare, it will be covered. If this information is not available here, one day we will realize, okay, it's taking too much long time, then we need to ensure now create on more story, right? That's not a good scenario. So for those things, this acceptance criteria will be helpful. So acceptance criteria talks about the functionality, which will give clarity to the tester, developer, PO, and it should always, it's a good practice. I'm not mandating it, but it's a good practice. Whatever I have seen, it's always good to talk about NFR part, testing part. If it's not applicable, please put as not applicable. That's fine. But at least we will talk about that during our refinement session. Okay. So this is all about acceptance criteria. So with this, acceptance criteria, we are confirming whether to accept the story or not by the PO. With this acceptance criteria, we are confirming with the help of the acceptance test cases whether the desired functionality is achieved or not by testers. With this acceptance criteria, we are confirming what we need to develop and where to start and where to end by the developers. That's where this acceptance criteria play a major role. Okay. Now, let's talk about the next important characteristics of user stories. And there are two important things about characteristics. It's always might be there may be some confusion. User story characteristics is in invest, whereas acceptance criteria characteristics is smart. Okay, there is a slight difference. So we'll go through that and see as well. Okay, so user story first thing is I, which stands for independent. So this is nothing but it should be an independent story. See, there will be sometimes dependencies between story to story, but we should not create a story in such a way that once I complete that story, then only I can pick the story. Or for this story itself is completely dependent on the other story. That condition we should not generally encourage it. If in case that is required, yeah, there are certain places it might come, and there are certain places dependency management is also available for that reason that we need to ensure. But while creating user stories, we will try to minimize the dependency at the maximum, at least between the stories. A story can have dependency, but story itself should not be dependent on other story. That will create a lot of chaos, because maybe during the course of execution, if some stories, the dependent story got blocked, the other story may not be able to kick off because of that. So we should try to avoid and ensure that there is a lot of gap and there is no tight coupling between the stories, so that we no need to really worry about the execution of these separate stories. If we have independent stories, it's cool. Like we can pick up any story at any moment of time, but certain cases it will occur that is actually as part of the product and as part of the functionalities. There are chances that we need to manage that kind of situation, but when we are creating user stories, we should avoid that kind of situation. Next thing is negotiable. So the first thing is if a story is written, like when we are entering into the refinement room, the story is already available. Okay, so this is the story, no more option to change anything. Then that's not agile, and then that's the second, the C in 3C. The second C is all about conversation and entering the discussion points in the description area, right? That itself got closed completely. So it should allow for some negotiation. So certain things, okay, as a team, when we are discussing, we are feeling that why can't we do these kind of things as well? Okay, then that can be added. And is this scenario required? Because I feel when we are using the other scenario, this actually gets nullified. Why can't we remove this? Yes, of course, we can remove it. So that kind of negotiation and the space for changing anytime the user story should be possible. Anytime, not always. I'm just underlining the word anytime. Anytime is all about the time till you complete the refinement and estimate the story and take it for your sprint execution as a committed story. Okay. Now, valuable. It should give some logical outcome. As I mentioned, it should not only talk about design. Okay, we have completed the design, we are good, we are done with the story. We are completing the testing, so we are done with the story. No, then there is no logical outcome. We are not giving any value. We are just completing a task that will not give any value. So value means it should give some kind of benefit. We should get some kind of logical outcome from that user story. The user story should be created in such a way that it is created for a goal and that benefit is achieved at the end of the story. Okay, and it should be estimatable. It should not be something like I club so many things and I have no clue how to estimate and where to start, where to end. Oh, this also I need to complete, as we mentioned about that user story on create, edit, delete, modify everything in one story. No, that's very hard for any team to estimate. So it should be very crisp and it should associate with only one goal so that we will be able to easily estimate it. Small, we talked about this already. As much as we can, we should break that story in such a way that it should have one goal associated with it. At the same time, it should be having a very specific thing. It should not have multiple things. So if you find more than one goal, always it's best to split that story so that it will also become a small one, which is also good for the team to estimate. And as well, it's good for the team to understand what goal they are looking for. Testable. We should not write stories in such a way that cannot be even testable. Like, yeah, login should happen with some period of time. What is it? Some period of time means like 3 seconds is also some period of time, 10 seconds also, 1 minute also, 1.5 minutes also. So the test scenario should be crisp. For that, actually the details should be given very clearly, and it should be taken in such a way we are able to test with those scenarios that are given. Scenarios are nothing but the acceptance criteria, whatever mentioned, that we should be in a position to convert it into the test scenarios so that it is coming under the category of testable. There are some stories which we won't generally test. I'll come to that topic, okay, if possible in today's session, but I will definitely touch on that point. Now, the next part is all about the characteristics of acceptance criteria. So we talked about the user story. So if we create user stories considering all those characteristics within this, we will ensure that the user story is small. It will have the scenarios about the testing. It will be easily estimatable, and it will have a specific goal, and it will be an independent one, and it will always allow for some kind of changes. So everything what we need in user story will be directly aligned if we follow this. Okay. Now coming to acceptance criteria characteristics. So it's all about SMART. Okay. So in SMART we have specific. This is again, it should actually tell what is the exact thing that we are looking from that particular acceptance criteria. It should not give some kind of vague information. Like if you want to create means it should talk about create. If you want to talk, if the user story is all about edit or modify, it should talk about that. So it should be specific about that. It should not be generalized like, yeah, the user story should perform all the user specific operations. What are those? There are places where we can only do create and delete. No edit is possible. Is that the one? So it should talk about specific things which are related to that particular story. It should be in a measurable format. It's basically like quantifiable, and we should be in a position to ensure how the progress is going on. That's all about measurable. Like for example, we have talked about the NFR part. Again, the same kind of example, like whether we can measure the things. It should not be like, again, a kind of like very open statement like, okay, this is something like it can take some amount of time. We should not ensure that kind of statements getting used, because it will not give any clarity for us. Definitely for everything, every progress, there should be a measurement indicator that we need to use, and that is nothing but this immeasurable. It should be achievable. We should not set some kind of expectations which are not at all possible. Like it should take a few milliseconds or something like that. Maybe the system itself takes a few seconds. We cannot bring to that. Maybe a legacy system, and that's how it is built with. Maybe we can take and try it out, but we may or may not be able to achieve. So ensure that our acceptance criteria and our requirement is an achievable part or not. The next one is all about relevant. So it should talk about that particular story. We write a story for only create, and inside that, okay, after creation, it should allow for edit also. It should give that edit option as well. And once I'm clicking that, if there is a new option, it should again create. No, do not give those kind of additional acceptance criteria which talks about another functionality. This is what it's all about, dependency we are trying to create. So that is not the scenario. Here we are talking about create. Please only ensure that the create functionality alone is getting added here. And it should be time bound. Ensure that this particular acceptance criteria can be achieved within a sprint time. It should not go more and more. And there is a time factor as well which is involved. So whether it is possible to complete all these things in this period of time, that is also very important. So that is all about time bound. Okay. So now, what are the types of user stories? There are different types people generally call, but I want to put it in only two categories. There are many categories like 5, 4. There are many things if we try to Google. I'm just trying to put it in my way of understanding. One is the user stories, which are actually we are using for implementing a functionality, and that will be actually a demoable thing, and that can also be deployed. There is non-user stories or something like which enable us or which allows us to explore certain things, or which allows us to understand some technical challenges. All these things comes under the non-user story category. So these non-user stories, will they also follow this acceptance criteria? Will they also? Yes, it's always good. What we should have a goal. That's the main thing that we have seen, right? So whether it's a non-user story, also it's a type of user story only. The name says non-user story just because user story means it will definitely give an outcome which is actually deployable, or which will in turn complete a functionality. Whereas non-user stories are something, it will not complete any functionality, but it will allow you. For example, we are in a planning phase of the product. Okay, so we will be starting sprint 1 in maybe next week. What we need to ensure in this week? We will ensure whether our development environment is set up, whether we have the infrastructure available, whether we have the CI/CD pipeline available, and whether how the team will be able to get the testing team will get the bills. All these things we will do. So these all things are actually the supporting things which are mandatorily required. But do we need to do this kind of setup, or if this setup is going to help anyone, or it is going to complete any functionality? No, but it will help us to set up our environment, to set up our infrastructure, to ensure some of the functionalities we don't have the clarity in the technology, in the technical aspect. We can do a spike. We will try to understand the technical with the help of technical spike or technical user stories. We will help ourselves to understand, okay, whether it's feasible or not, whether this decision will work or that decision will work. For all those things, it will be helpful. For exploration, certain topics will be available in the product. As a part of enhancement, we want to do. We want to explore certain ideas, whether it's possible or not, and which idea will be really feasible. I want to do a POC. So these all things will come as part of exploration. Enablers, infrastructure setup, environment setup, those all things will come as part of enabler. So these all are different categories. There can be many, and there are different categorization as well. I just want to make it crisp, which will cover the points, whatever I have worked with. So I have just made it as 3. Okay. Okay. Now comes who will create the user story, and when they will create the user story, and when we can change, when we cannot change, all those things. Okay. So first thing is PO or the story author. Why I have mentioned as author? Generally, in some places, everyone is allowed to create a story, which according to me is not a best practice. If anyone in the team, they are allowed. Of course, they are allowed. They can say that there is a functionality like this. Why can't we put it in the product backlog and take it in the future? But through the channel of PO, always ensure that you are creating user stories, because user stories should have a parent entity, which is a feature or whatever may be the connection point that every organization uses is different. So whatever we use, it should be linked, and it has certain things that need to be taken care as part of process when you are creating, which should have been set. For example, acceptance criteria, you need to write, you need to put the title in some format, all those things. It's not only just for the process, it will also help PO to also think from this story, what are the other things that we can look for. It will also allow PO to take to the next step to the product management team to talk about, hey, like this kind of story came from my team. Why can't we think about this scenario in the other page as well, or the other section? Why can't we do that? Any kind of clarity we can think about in the next release. So this actually gives some kind of space for some exploration and some kind of discussion. So it is always good even if some team member is having some need to create a user story, always ensure it is going through the product owner. So only a product owner will be creating, not necessary. Now coming to the technical spike or technical depth items, it's always good the team to create, because from functionality end, product owner will be having much more clarity. But from technical depth or refactoring or technical spike why we are doing, it is always good that the team has already certain criteria and they have the 100% clarity on the item, what they are going to do and what is their end goal. So in that way, development team or cross-functional team, the team may be working with some more other teams who are also going to participate in the sprint execution. It's always good to kind of consult them and come up with the acceptance criteria and the end goal, what we are looking for that technical spike item. So for the technical spikes, it's always good to lead to the team, or maybe in that case also not everyone. Ask your technical architect to create the stories and document it in the acceptance criteria, the required things, and what is the end goal that we are looking for. And other stories always ensure, even though it is coming from any member of the team, take support from your PO and encourage discussions on that topic, so that we might get some more roadmap items in the future because of this open item. And now creation is done. So we will be doing the user story creation. That's we have talked about. After user story creation, refinement is done. Okay, stories are estimated, and now there are changes. Now again, the story will go for one more round of refinement. So whenever there is a change happening in the user story which got already refined, it's good to consider it again for the refinement, because the changed items may change the estimation and we may have some questions. Then in that case, we may definitely need to go for a discussion. Not we may, we need to. So we need to go for the discussion to conclude that what are the changes and how it's going to affect. Now, when we should not modify the story. So till that time it is allowed, right? Like even after refinement, it is allowed. But if we are doing that modification, we should go for one more round of refinement. Now, the sprint itself has started, and in the sprint, the user story itself has committed. Means the team has committed that, okay, this story we have picked it up as part of the sprint execution. Then further changes are not allowed. The reason is, if we are keep on changing that, then we don't know that what is our end goal. We don't know what is the scope that we are working with, and our estimates can go for a task. So it's not encouraged. Okay, so we know when to create, we know when to modify, we know when we should not modify. Okay. Okay. So now two more topics. Definition of ready and definition of done. I have not written so many things here for a reason, just to ensure that we are trying to remember these pictures only. First thing, it's a checklist. Okay, there is a plate of food, right? Some rice. Okay, let's take veg pulao. Okay, so for veg pulao, I want to make, what I will do first. I don't know the recipe itself. I'm not a good cook. Okay, so what we will do first, I'll go through the recipe. I'll try to understand that recipe, and I know how much time it will take for me to prepare, and I'll plan in the day when I have that much time. And then what I will do, I'll try to list down all the items. Okay, what I need to purchase. Okay, if I'm not doing all these things, what will happen? No issue. I may have some meeting and I planned like I will be able to complete in 30 minutes. I may not be able to complete. So the plan may collapse. Point number one. Point number two, if I don't know that recipe itself, I may be looking at the recipe somewhere in my mobile or in my laptop, then I'll be doing, which may not be a fruitful one. If I don't know the items, what I need to add, what will happen is, I may need to run to the shop and get that item and come and then make again, which again increase my time, or which actually may not happen in the day itself. Like major ingredient itself, I'm unable to purchase in my nearest shop, then plan itself may get collapsed. Same thing is with the definition of ready. Okay, we have product in the product backlog. There is an item which got all the details, which have everything. but we are creating a checklist on our side. We means who? As a team, we are going to create. Scrum Master is just a facilitator to create this checklist, and Scrum Master will not create this checklist. All the items in this checklist will be added by the team, and Scrum Master will just a facilitator. Okay. So as a team, what we will be adding? So for my recipe to start, same way. For my product backlog item to be moved to the sprint backlog item, I need certain things to be available in my story or any work item. What are the things that should be available? It should have some UI, UX wireframe or some designs or some mark screens. And it should have the complete clarity and acceptance criteria. And it should be estimatable. I'm putting some 2-3 items. Okay, there are many, and it can vary from team to team and product to product and nature of the work. Everything will change. Okay, but I'm trying to put 2-3 items. NFR part, at least NA. If there is nothing, NA. Like this, we have many items. So definition of ready is a checklist, which is a dynamic one. Why it is dynamic? Now I consider only 2-3 items. Okay. So I consider only 2-3 items, and I have started the sprint. And during the course of execution, I felt that I think wireframes itself is not there. That itself is not added in definition of ready. So next sprint, before start of the next sprint, when we have the retrospective, it is always must to go through the definition of ready and definition of done checklist and get the feedback from the team if something needs to be added or we need to modify certain things from the learning what we have got from the previous sprint. So in nutshell, definition of ready is a checklist which can be dynamically changed when not during the course of execution, not during the course of sprint execution, only at the end of the sprint after we learn certain things, put it in the retrospective meeting and try to modify the checklist. What is the benefit of this checklist? This checklist will give me a clarity. What are the things that are required to be available before I put this item into my sprint backlog? What if those items are not available? What is the purpose of this checklist? If these items are not available, or if I don't have this checklist, I may start this item in the sprint, but during the course of sprint execution, I may encounter certain blockers or I may encounter certain deviation, which may or may not be able to get resolved during the course of sprint execution. So at the end, what will happen? That particular item will not be able to deliver, means we will not be able to complete as a team. Why? Because we don't know what are the items that are required. Like before making veg pulao, I should know what are the things that are required in my home to start the activity. Similar way, to start the work item in a sprint, I should know what are the minimum items, what are the checklist item that should be available as part of the work item to make it as a committed item in the sprint so that I don't face any kind of challenges during the sprint execution. It can be any, those few of the items are, it should have wireframes, it should have acceptance criteria, it should talk about the NFR, it should already be estimated, no dependencies are open. So this is the way we should ensure. So when the definition of ready checklist is met, then we can take that item as part of the sprint backlog, and we should be able to execute that as part of the sprint. What if that 2-3 items are not available, even one item is not available? Team is very much open to say that, hey, definition of ready checklist is not met for this work item. Please work on this. Identify the action owner, Scrum Master. We are not committing the story, or we are not committing this work item. Simple. So now the action owner should be identified. For example, wireframes are not available. Talk to the designer. Acceptance criteria is not written clearly. Talk to the product owner. So respective action owners will take that item and try to close it. This is all about definition of ready. Now let's go to definition of done. Okay, here also one more checklist, but the picture has changed. Here I have used purposefully the cake, and that also a birthday cake. Okay, so I have ordered for a birthday cake. Okay, and the baker has given me the cake. Cake is available. but it doesn't have any icing, no name written, no candles, nothing. It's just a cake. It's edible still, but what I have expected, it's not the same, right? Same way. In my checklist, when I was thinking for a birthday cake, I expected there should be a cake, and there are candles which are meant for happy birthday, and there should be on the icing there should be a name with happy birthday, which I wanted. So all these things were in my checklist item, but unfortunately only cake is available. Even though the item is available, it cannot be used for a birthday purpose, right? Same way, you have a work item, you have the functionality, you created that according to the acceptance criteria, and now there is no unit test cases written, there is no code coverage which should be achieved, it's not taken care, no documentation update, no localization implementation, which means you have the code, but the development is not done. Coding is different from development. Coding is something like I have made the cake which is available. Development is something like I have made all the other items which are required to turn that cake to be a birthday cake. Same way, whatever the items that is just a piece of code, I'm adding all these flavors which are added in the checklist of definition of done to ensure that it is a deliverable work item that it can be accepted by the product owner. So now, in nutshell, what is the definition of done means? It's again a checklist. It's again a dynamic part. So dynamic means, can I change anytime? No. It is also again during the sprint course of sprint execution, team is not allowed to change it. When can I change it? As a team, we have created. Again, this is like same thing like definition of ready. As a team, whole team, we will be coming with the definition of done. Earlier case, from the product backlog, team has the advantage of picking with or committing this work item as part of the sprint by pulling it to the sprint backlog. They used to check the definition of ready. Similar way, to accept a story or any work item, product owner will be checking this checklist. Okay, acceptance criteria is met. Awesome. Now documentation is updated. Super. Now unit test cases are written. Good. Now all the things are taken care. Then we are good to actually say that the story is completed, which means the product owner should be in a position to accept it. So now definition of done is again, it is a checklist, which is again a dynamic one, which will be created by the team, again facilitated by the Scrum Master this event, where we will be defining this definition of done document. And now this can go for change after some learnings during the course of sprint execution, talk in the retrospective, come up with what are the additional points we need to add, and add it and make it as a modified one in the definition of done for the next sprint. During the course of sprint execution, we are not allowed to change it. Okay. Now, if in case no unit test cases are written, what will happen? Yes, your story, even though the functionality is completed, it will not be accepted by the PO. Because for a PO to accept the story or any work item, the definition of done checklist item should be met. So examples of those items, code coverage should be so and so percentage, unit test cases should be written, user guide should be updated, localization, so and so, many things. It varies again from team to team and product to product, and nature of the development, it will change. But this is the checklist. Now, I have not added anything. Anyone want to actually talk about this after hearing everything, or you want me to add? These three parts we have covered, but it's a very common scenario that what is all about acceptance criteria, a definition of ready and definition of done. Anyone is willing to summarize what we have gone through?
Yes, Sylvia, I would like to, but please correct me if I'm like making
Please,
some
please.
mistakes.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, definition of ready is a checklist where that is the entry criteria for the sprint like for the sprint actually. So the definition of ready is something like which ensures that we are taking a product backlog items to a sprint backlog. So so that is the definition of ready. So it's like to ensure that the user story is having a clarity, and also like all information required to be taken into a particular sprint, like to take into like sprint execution. So definition of done is something that the tasks which we are going to perform in the sprint to ensure that we are providing a releasable product. So it's again a checklist, and it is like dynamic, and it can be like modified after the sprint execution once once we discuss in the sprint retrospective. And acceptance criteria is something that the test scenarios which a particular user story should be like adhered to, like to ensure that it is like in it is like working condition. So to ensure that the PO is like accepting it.
Okay.
And like acceptance criteria is again dynamic, and like acceptance criteria, and like both all the three checklists are like dynamic, which we can modify at the end of the sprint like execution, after we we have like discussed in the sprint retrospective.
Okay, so only one correction I just want to add. First of all, thank you so much for summarizing that. Acceptance criteria is not a dynamic one, because it is actually part of a user story or a work item, and it is a static one. Like once we commit on a work item, we are not allowed to change it during the course of the sprint execution, and it will not change even. When it will change during till the refinement process, like when we try to understand more about the story or the work item, that is the time we will try to discuss about that, and we will make the modification and make the crisp acceptance criteria. Once a team actually estimates and complete the refinement meeting, it will be waiting for the movement to the sprint backlog, and once team is committing to that particular work item, it will be taken as a sprint backlog item, where we will not be allowed to change the acceptance criteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. So just I'll quickly put some 2-3 points so that we will be able to remember. One thing is the first two items, that is definition of ready and definition of done, or the checklist. Acceptance criteria is not a checklist. It is a condition of satisfaction that is required for a work item. Okay. And now definition of ready and definition of done. These two things should be regularly getting updated with the help of the retrospective meeting. It's all about continuous learning, continuous improvement. So whatever we have learned as part of the sprint execution, we try to implement those things in the upcoming sprint by using the retrospective meeting and adding the required modification, and try to update the definition of ready and definition of done. Coming to acceptance criteria, it won't go for any change because it is specific to a particular work item alone. The acceptance criteria from one work item to another work item will be different. The acceptance criteria for a login functionality is different from acceptance criteria for a delete functionality of the user. Whereas DOR and DOD is a common checklist that will travel throughout the sprint execution, and it will be common for all the work items that we are using in the sprint. Okay. And the last point is all about, so definition of ready and definition of done, those two documents or the checklist will be created with the help of the team as a collaborated effort facilitated by the Scrum Master, whereas acceptance criteria is provided by the product owner or the story author or the work item author. If it's a technical spike, it may be a technical architect. If it is a user story, it will be a product owner. So accordingly, it will be created. Whereas DOR and DOD, it is facilitated by Scrum Master, but the details will be provided by the entire team. Okay. Okay. So we are done. So let me open the chat If we have any questions, we can take those questions. Let me stop sharing. Okay, let me go to the questions. Can automation also be non-user story since it does not add any value directly to the deliverables? Okay, good question. So generally, test automation is one thing, may or may not be in all user stories and may not be in all projects. Point number one. So point number two, if there is a automation which should be covered, it is always good to cover it as part of the user story, not a separate story. But if in case it's a new product and we are now only doing manual, we will not be able to complete test automation. That's what test automation team is thinking. Then we need to have a separate test automation related backlog, which means it's in the same product backlog only, but you can create a feature which targets mainly for the test automation, and we will be able to target only on the test automation related deliverables with the help of those stories that are coming under the feature of test automation, whereas all the other things which we are targeting will be coming as part of the functionality. But it is always a very, very, very good practice. Try to combine test automation also as part of a deliverable if you are actually looking for end-to-end product automation, or if the user story is not feasible with test automation, then please provide that option in the acceptance criteria as a test automation not applicable. Like how we have talked about testing, how we have talked about NFR, please put that it's not applicable. Try to avoid creating a separate set of automation, although it has a benefit of providing the test automation suite. It is also delivering as part of the core functionality. It will be again a duplicate item. You need to ensure all the user stories should be converted for automation again. Here means it will travel with the flow of the product backlog which we have. So it's always advisable to have the test automation as part of the acceptance criteria. But if in case we have completely no option and we have just started now only the test automation thing, there is no kind of like parallel activity between the actual testing, manual testing and the test automation, then we can go ahead in that kind of fashion. Okay. Next question. Okay, NFR should not be the part of acceptance criteria and DOR. Of course, it should be NFR. As we discussed, NFR should be a part of the acceptance criteria, as we discussed. And DOR, because I'll tell one scenario, like acceptance criteria is a kind of like combined package of your functionality details, your test related details, your NFR related details, and your testing related details, everything. Okay, so if we are saying that acceptance criteria is available, that means all these placeholders should definitely have some value. So we won't generally talk specifically about NFR as a DOR item, but definitely we will ensure that acceptance criteria, that whole package is available or not as a part of DOR checklist. Okay. Okay, not able to interpret NFR in DOD. DOD, it will not come as a separate item, the NFR, same thing, like it's part of a acceptance criteria. So one general DOD which will be taken care is whether your acceptance test passed. Okay, when acceptance test will pass, against what acceptance test will be written? Your acceptance test are written based on your acceptance criteria. So when your acceptance tests are getting passed means your all the acceptance criteria are actually delivered. What are the acceptance criteria that you have? One of the item, your login page should not take more than 1 second. That means that test case also passed, which means you are meeting the acceptance test passed checklist item. That means definition of done is getting completed. NFR should not shouldn't be the part of acceptance criteria and DOD. Yes, as I mentioned, acceptance criteria, whole package. So DOR also will be taken care with the word acceptance criteria. DOD also will be taken care as part of acceptance criteria. Okay. I think no more questions, I believe. Okay, let me, okay, there is a question from the chat. Do Scrum Master play any role in testing? Mhm. Okay, this is specific to Scrum Master. It depends on actually the Scrum Master. If actually the Scrum Master wants to participate, always the options are open. But it again depends on the team and the need basis. But it is not as such mandate, but any role, not only in the testing, if in the documentation Scrum Master can support, in generating some reports as part of the release, we can support, and in certain build process we can support, in certain smoke testing we can support. So it's all up to the team and the bandwidth availability. I think I have covered almost every question. Is there any other question from anyone?
Yes, Selvi. I have one question. Just wanted to clarify myself.
Mhm.
You said characteristics of user story should always have an inverse criteria. So I refers to independent. So there should not be any dependent user stories. Say for example, if you have a login page and sign up page, so login pages depend on sign up page. So once the registration is done, only we can log in our credential and we can go to our home page.
Mhm.
So in that case, user story should be separated, right? So there should be a separate user story for sign up and separate user story for login.
Yes,
Is my
awesome.
understanding correct?
Yes, exactly. So you are trying to actually separate the kind of dependent items. If you are actually, as you rightly put the statement, it's a very good example. So if you try to put both in one particular placeholder, it will be like you are unable to move until the other option is done. Or if
Right.
it's actually having two goals, sign up is different from login. So in that case, if you try to separate it, you have two goals and you have two user stories for the dedicated goal.
Okay. Okay. So we have a separate acceptance criteria as well. That
Yes,
right?
yes. The acceptance criteria should be separate for each user story. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So apart from this session, I have one question, which is for cost creep. Do we have any real time for cost creep from your end?
If you are okay, can I take this question through the WhatsApp group? Will that be okay?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Thank you. That's it
Thank
from
you.
my end.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this session. It really helps a lot for us.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions from anyone? I think I have covered all the questions which are there in the chat. Sorry if I
Hi,
didn't-
Selvi. This is Bhaskar.
Yeah, Bhaskar.
In the acceptance criteria characteristics, there is a time box that you mentioned, right? But how time box can be a characteristic, because we expect these are given by PO, as you said.
Yeah.
So will he mention the time that we need to finish, or how that is related? Can you explain with an example?
Okay. So, for example, as I mentioned, one example like creating user, edit or modifying user, delete users. Okay, three things. If actually as part of acceptance criteria, actually the story is all about creating users. Okay, but what product owner has done is product owner has added one acceptance criteria point saying that while creating users, after the creation, I should be able to modify the user. After modifying the user, I should be able to delete. Now, even though the title says creation, what acceptance criteria PO has written, he or she had written points about creation, modification, deletion. Okay. So now this actually will extend your timeline. Means when you are going through this and when team wants to estimate, they want to complete the edit functionality, which may go for example, 13 story points. We will talk about estimation. I'm just roughly giving an example to you.
Yeah.
So when particularly product owner is putting some kind of acceptance criteria, he or she should be very specific on what item, and it should not cross more than a sprint time. That is the one thing they should ensure, because we have a time bound mechanism. What is the time bound mechanism? A sprint cycle of maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So if the item is going beyond that, then it is actually kind of like non-achievable item within a sprint, because user story is one work item that should be completed within the sprint. That means we are not matching that criteria itself. So that's the reason when writing acceptance criteria, we should ensure that it is a specific goal. At the same time, even if it is a specific goal, ensure that it's a rough mechanism. PO won't estimate here, PO won't get to know what are the things that can be taken care of here, but it is a very rough idea whether this is achievable within this time frame of a sprint. That's the one question before we need to put it in the when we are talking about the acceptance criteria. Even if PO is writing, then team should say, hello, PO, you are unable to do because you have to create, edit, delete everything. Please remove those things because it's only about create, which we can complete in the sprint. That's the reason we are talking about time bound here.
Okay, one more question. I mean, the estimations will be done after the acceptance criteria is given by the PO or before we do this?
It will be done after the complete clarity is available and the team is completely knowing what all the things that they need to do as part of the acceptance criteria and what they need to achieve as part of the end goal related to that particular user story. When that clarity is available with the team, that is the time team will go for estimation.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Sylvie. That's it.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, thanks, Sylvie. Wonderful session. Yeah, you explained all these things in a very simple English, not adding much jargons. So it was a wonderful session. Thanks a lot, Sylvie. Thanks, everyone. So, guys, like we would be having another series of session, which you can expect it. The announcement, you can expect the announcement from the WhatsApp group. So please do follow the WhatsApp group. And we do have our regular calls where we discuss the interview questions and all. So the call timings for this week, it's like from 7 to 8. So this today being an exception. So let's again connect tomorrow between 7 to 8. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks,
Thank
all.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks, Sally.
Thanks,
Bye.
Selvi.
Thanks,
Bye.
Vegat. Thanks, Sylvie.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thank you, Sally.
Yeah, Arun, you can stop the recording, Arun.